Hi and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Lee. Okay, so last week Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, asked Gazprom, Russia's central bank, and Russian government ministers to come up with a plan so that Europe and unfriendly countries could pay for their Russian gas in rubles. And on Monday there was a statement made by the G7 nations that they don't accept this, and I'm going to quote a couple of articles from Reuters, a couple of paragraphs from an article on Reuters. So all G7 ministers have agreed that this is a unilateral and clear breach of existing contracts after a virtual meeting of G7 ministers. The ministers underline once again that the concluded contracts are valid and the companies should and must respect them. Payment in rubles is unacceptable and we call on the companies concerned not to comply with Putin's demand, he said. So this I find unbelievable in the fact that these countries, together with the US and other European nations, have imposed a huge amount of unilateral sanctions on Russia. And it seems that when then Russia imposes some sanctions on them, they don't like it. So it's like that they can give it, but they can't take it. They're now suggesting that Russia are acting illegally because they have contracts to supply this gas in euros and now they want rubles. Well, I just think that's really unbelievable given the amount of sanctions, illegal sanctions that these countries have applied to Russia. And I think in a situation like this, all sort of contracts go out the window a little bit. So we're at a point now where Russia are working on their plan to demand payment in rubles, and the G7 nations are saying they're not going to pay in rubles. Now, when asked what Russia will do if the G7 don't pay in rubles, so Russia have said it will not supply gas to Europe for free as it works out methods for accepting payments for its gas exports in rubles, but G7 nations refuse the demand. We are not going to supply gas for free. This is clear, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told a conference call. In our situation, this is hardly possible and appropriate to engage in charity with European customers. And then a Russian lawmaker, Ivan Abromov, said a refusal by the G7 to pay for Russian gas in rubles would lead to an unequivocal halt in supplies. And that was according to the RIA news agency. And Abromov sits on the Economic Policy Committee of the Federation Council, the Russian Parliament's upper chamber. And so this is, as I said, a stalemate. So we're really going to have to see who blinks first. Now, at this point, Europe really can't do without Russian gas. It will cause absolute chaos within Europe. And we already see yesterday over this that on the British and Dutch gas markets, wholesale gas prices spiked by as much as 20%. And so we're really going to have to see who blinks first here. If Russia do indeed carry out their promise of turning off the gas, if Europe refuse to pay in rubles, then we've already had the German Chancellor saying this could be absolutely devastating for Germany and Europe. It could cause widespread poverty, a huge amount of job losses. Industry won't be able to function properly. It'll absolutely wreck German economy and also other European economies. Now, luckily, we're heading into the summer where gas demand is lower. But again, they just can't replace this gas overnight, and even coming into next winter there just won't be adequate supplies. We saw that they've signed a contract with the US to supply 15 billion cubic meters of LNG, liquefied gas. Again, this is just a small fraction of the gas Russia supplies, and in any case America are already running at full capacity, so any that is supplied to Europe from America means it's not supplied to elsewhere, which will cause a shortage, which will push up the price. So seriously, if Russia, do carry out this threat and turn off the gas because these G7 nations are not prepared to pay in rubles, then we will not only see economies hit hard in Europe, but we'll also see more price rises in gas. And I suspect that these are the consequences of Europe and the US rushing to impose sanctions without looking at the full consequences of what those sanctions really mean. And it's not the politicians who will pay the price, it is consumers who will pay the price. Anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But as always, for now, take care.